Hey everyone, and welcome. If you've ever planned a family trip hoping for those magical moments of discovery, but you ended up battling boredom and screen time, then you have definitely come to the right place. Today, we're going to dive into a really cool framework that can turn pretty much any family trip into an unforgettable learning adventure. Let's get right into it.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we get past the classic, "Are we there yet?" and turn sightseeing into something that's genuinely exciting for our kids? How do we make the world their classroom without it actually feeling like school?
Well, it turns out the answer lies in an approach called travel to learn. It's all about changing how you see things, so your family visit becomes this incredible educational experience by finding the adventure and the lesson in every single place you go.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Great, another thing to plan, another to-do list for me? But here's the best part, and I really mean this. This is not about adding more work for you. It's about a simple shift in mindset that makes the whole trip richer for everyone, you included.
So, what's the secret sauce here?
Well, it all comes down to a really simple, repeatable framework for sparking curiosity. It's called the learning cycle.
At the heart of all this is a concept called experience-based learning. Now, that might sound a little academic, but it's a fancy term for a super simple idea. You just use a consistent rhythm of activities to turn any outing, whether it's a museum or a hike in the woods, into a chance for real, hands-on discovery.
Okay, so here they are, the 5 steps of the cycle. It all kicks off with wonder. That's where you ask questions and make some fun guesses before you even get there. Then you encounter. You're on site, you're experiencing it, observing with all your senses. Afterwards, you find meaning, but just chatting about what was surprising or unexpected. Then comes identity, where you explore the place through the eyes of a professional, like a scientist or maybe an artist. And finally, you create a memory, which locks in the learning by making anything tangible.
And here's a pro tip that I think is absolutely brilliant. It is so tempting to correct our kids when they guess something wrong, right? But this framework says, nope, don't do it. Let the experience itself be the teacher. Let them discover the real answer on their own. Because those moments of surprise, that's where the best learning really happens. A wrong guess can be the start of an amazing discovery.
So, and this is really important, your role isn't to be a teacher who has all the answers. You're more like a guide, a co-discoverer. The goal is just to spark that curiosity, ask questions, and experience that sense of wonder right alongside them. It just takes all the pressure off and makes the whole thing a shared family experience.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this look like in the real world?
Let's take a look at some actual examples from a learning guide for Palm Desert, California, to see this whole cycle in action.
So our first stop is the Living Desert Zoo and Gardens. What a perfect place to explore big ideas like survival and how animals adapt in really extreme environments.
Okay, check this out. This is a perfect example of how you put those steps together. So before you go, you might look at this infographic on the left. That's your wonder step. Hey, what do we think a roadrunner eats? How big are a bighorn sheep's horns going to be? Then, once you're there, you break out the Desert Explorer Challenge on the right. That's your encounter. You're actively looking for tracks, spotting cool plants, and turning the whole observation thing into a super fun game.
And the cool thing is, this learning cycle isn't just for animals. It is super versatile. You can use the exact same framework to tackle huge, kind of abstract scientific concepts like geology and earth science.
How do you explain something like the San Andreas Fault to a kid? That's tough. But what if you could make a model? This slide shows a simple activity, just a paper plate for the Earth and a ball for the Sun, to show rotation and seasons. This is that memory step in action. You're turning a massive, complex idea into a simple, hands-on model that a kid is just never going to forget.
And what's really beautiful about this approach is that you don't even need a big, formal destination. Even a simple trip to a local farmer's market can become this rich learning adventure. With a little scavenger hunt like this one, kids are learning about local food, they're talking to farmers. Every errand can become an expedition.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about what might be the most powerful part of this whole cycle, using these experiences to give kids a little lens into their own future.
This brings us to step 4, identity. And really, it's all about role-playing. You just encourage your kids to put on a career lens. Ask them, okay, if you were a geologist standing here, what would you be looking for? What questions would a nature journalist ask? It totally shifts their perspective from being a passive tourist to an active investigator.
And just look at the possibilities this opens up. A trip to the desert isn't just about cacti and coyotes anymore. Suddenly, it's about understanding the work of a veterinarian, a hydrologist, a science writer, or even a cartographer. It exposes them to all these jobs they might have never even heard of before.
And you know what? Supporting this is actually really simple. Let them choose their role for the day. Maybe encourage them to take notes or snap photos just like a real professional would. The key here is just to celebrate their curiosity without any pressure. Just notice what gets them excited. That little spark is where future passions can begin. Okay, so maybe you're feeling a little inspired right now to try this on your next trip. Let's check out a couple of simple tools to help you get started on your own learning adventure. You know, something as simple as this learning journey tracker can be so effective. It gives kids a real sense of accomplishment as they check off each experience, and it gets them to think about their favorite parts and what career lens they chose, which just reinforces that entire learning cycle we talked about.
And at the end of a trip, these reflection questions, they are pure gold. This is really that meaning step coming full circle. Asking something like, what surprised you? Or how did this change how you see the world? Helps cement the experience and connects it to their own lives. Plus, it gets them excited for the next adventure. Because when you get right down to it, that's what this is all about. It's about way more than just educational travel. It's about curiosity. It's about discovery. And most importantly, it's about strengthening your family's connection by learning and exploring the world together. So, next time you're packing your bags, I want you to think about this. It really doesn't matter if you're going across the world or just down the street to a local park. The world is just full of classrooms waiting to be discovered. The only question is, which one will you and your family explore next?